Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey there, private practice heroes. It's Kathy Colaiacovo, and thanks for tuning in today, because I am sharing one of my best time-saving tactics that I know so that you can start spending less time on your marketing, but in a way that attracts more clients to your practice or your business. This episode is one you want to listen to, especially if you're doing all the marketing that people keep saying works for them, but you're still not getting clients. The issue might not actually be how much you're doing. It's whether your marketing is consistent that matters. And that matters for folks who need to do just the required bare minimum of marketing, or if you're someone who is ready to scale up with a full-blown marketing campaign. In episode 155, I was talking about the summer slowdowns, but slowdowns don't just happen in the summer. They can happen any time of year because your booking calendar is always at the mercy of your clients' lives. And when things slow down, most practice owners fall into one of two traps. You either completely disappear because you're too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed to do your marketing, or you swing the other way and you try to make up for it by doing more and more and more posts, more content, more platforms. Neither option is sustainable, and neither one builds momentum either. Because the real problem is not your effort, it's not your content. It's the fact that no one ever taught you a marketing system that actually fits your business and your life. And that's where my Thrive marketing method comes in. This is a foundational lesson that I teach inside the Thrive Marketing Academy, and it has helped hundreds of practice owners, therapists, dietitians, nutritionists. It's helped them all stay consistent and visible with their marketing and get booked. The biggest bonus about using this and following it is that they do this without spending hours a day on marketing, especially marketing that is going nowhere. And it has really worked well for those who are trying too hard and doing too much. Because you don't need to be on social media every day. You don't need a different post for every platform out there. And you definitely don't need to keep starting from scratch with every piece of content you put out for your marketing. Folks who are in that slowdown mode, or even people who are fully booked already and need a minimal amount of marketing, because yes, some people actually get to that place. In every one of these situations, the solution is typically the same thing. You need to back up and have a plan that makes getting your marketing done as simple as possible. A plan that focuses on your message, aligns with your goals, and works with your schedule. And that's what we're going to be covering today on the podcast. I'm going to share with you 5 easy steps that make up the Thrive marketing method. It is a simple and proven system that helps you stay consistent and bring in more clients without that overwhelm or burning out from doing too much marketing. And consistency is what really helped one of my Thrive Marketing Academy members, Brittany, come back from a maternity leave with her calendar already booked with clients. The Thrive marketing method, it makes that even easier to do. And as we talked about in episode 155, when I was referring to that summer slowdown, you truly cannot afford to stop all marketing even if you're busy, or you're going to end up in that cycle of low or no clients and struggling to find more. And then that's when you start panicking and start doing more and more marketing that you typically don't need to do if you were consistent in the first place. It's that panic mode that makes people think, oh, well, if I'm doing this marketing and it's not working, I'm going to try to get it to hit home better. And that's when they start thinking that that's what they need to do to be effective, putting out a ton more of content. I almost always see them trying to solve this problem of marketing that's not working by putting out a piece of content for the newsletter. Then they're putting out something else totally different for their blog if they're putting that on their website. And then they're creating a ton of other content for their social media. And when folks don't do the newsletter and the blog, and I see them doing the social media content, I'm also seeing them post something absolutely different on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram if they're using all of those channels. And all of that effort, when you start putting it out there, it's not building up the momentum. It's just eating up your time. So no matter how you go about it here, more content isn't the answer. And that's where the Thrive marketing method comes in. It's a process that you can follow to ensure you are doing exactly what you need for your marketing, but more importantly, you're doing it consistently. If you aren't following something like this, you're probably burning out or getting overwhelmed and frustrated because you have no system to follow to make the marketing easier to do. Without a structure, every marketing task feels like a new decision and you're writing new content. And that's where the exhaustion comes into play. The Thrive marketing method I teach is really built to help you end that cycle of creating too much content or not being effective with the content that you create. It's what lets my clients finally figure out how they can be consistent with the marketing. So let's walk through the 5 steps of this Thrive marketing method and how they all work together so they save you time and help you get those results you're looking for. The first thing that you need to do, step 1, is you have to decide what is going to be your anchor content piece for your marketing and for the cycle that you're going to do with your marketing. So in this case, you always want to have that base piece of content, which is why I call it your anchor content. So maybe it's going to be a written article that you do that you're going to post as a newsletter or a blog. If you're someone who is doing podcasting or into video and you want to create your content that way, that's great. Whatever format works best for you is what you need. The goal here is very simple. You need to set a schedule and a time for how often you want to create that anchor content, okay? So if you're a writer, maybe your anchor content is an article you do as a newsletter or a blog. If you're someone who likes to talk and get on a mic or get on video, it might be that podcast or your video script. Whatever it is, that article, that piece of content becomes the foundation of your Thrive marketing method. And it becomes that anchor content you need to create all the other catalyst content, which is what I refer to the additional marketing content you create from that article. So choose here. This is your time to make a decision. Are you going to do an article for a newsletter blog, which is going to be the most common one that practice owners do? Those of you that are a little more advanced might be doing the podcasting or the video. Make that decision and decide that's where you're going to go. Step 2 is that you need to build your content bucket of topics. So these are main themes or topics that you talk about the most in your business with your clients. Now, I typically talk to people about doing 2 a month of those main content pieces. So maybe doing twice a month newsletters, which if you go out for the course of a year, you're looking for about 24, 26 pieces of content ideas. If you think about it, if you have 6 main core content topics, and then for each one you come up with 3 subtopics, if you wrote a content piece for every one of those main topics and subtopics, you've got 24 content ideas right away, which is enough for most people to fill out an entire year of content planning if you're doing that twice a month. Now, if you're someone who is ready to start off but can only commit to once a month, great. Cut that back. Do 3 core content buckets and have 3 subtopics for each. And that way you've got 3 by 4 and you're all set to go. Doing this means you're not always sitting down and thinking about what am I going to create? What am I going to write about? What am I going to put into that core piece of content, into that anchor content? You have a plan, you have the topics, you have the ideas. And most of those ideas, honestly, will probably come from how you talk to people, how you coach them, how you work with them. So that's a key part of this as well. Those ideas in those content bucket of topics are going to help stop the frustration of trying to figure out what you're going to share as your newsletter or your blog or your podcast or video when you have to sit down and create one. Step 3 is you're going to repurpose this content very strategically. And this is a huge part of the Thrive Marketing Method. Once you've created that main piece of content, that anchor content, we repurpose it into the catalyst content that I was talking about. This catalyst content, I've got an episode on the podcast about this, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But essentially, the catalyst content is the kind of content you're going to create to get people back to that main anchor content and consume it wherever it might be. So, as the full article that you've created, that anchor content will be repurposed into, ideally, a newsletter you're going to send to your email list. And if you're doing that and you have a website, I really and truly hope that you're also putting this on your website as a blog post. You'll have to make a couple tweaks to that, but it is very easy to do. And then you're also going to use that same main anchor content, that content you created for the newsletter that you turn into the blog as well, and you're going to create your social media posts directly from the same content. And let me be super clear here. You are not writing and creating 3 different things. You are using that one same piece of anchor content, formatted slightly differently depending on where it's going to go, but you're not creating it all new. Again, some little formatting to change it up effectively for wherever you're going to post it, but you're not creating new content. What you are doing is using that same message and putting it in a different format. If you're wondering how to actually fit all of this into your week, don't forget, I walk you through exactly how to make all of this happen in just 1 hour a week in episode 50 of the podcast. It gives you a very practical breakdown of how to time block and execute this without letting the marketing take over your schedule. So don't forget to listen to episode 50 because that really breaks down this entire repurposing of the content so that you understand how you take the anchor content and turn it into the newsletter, into the blog post, into social media posts. And it's all about creating that catalyst content that's going to get people back on your website from that main piece of content you put out there. And then we get into step number 4, which is formatting the content for each platform. I've talked about it a little bit here already, but this is critical. And it's also the part that tends to trip people up. But it's often where the time savings really is going to kick in. For your newsletter, I said it earlier, you're going to write this in a little more of a personal tone. Maybe you're going to add a quick check-in with people at the beginning or some client insight up at the top of the newsletter, and then you'll have the main content in there. You have to remember, a newsletter is filled with people who already know you one way or another. They signed up for a freebie, they met you at an event, they booked a consult with you. They understand who you are typically already or have some idea. So your job with the newsletter is to stay connected. Keeping it written in a format that you would write for the blog isn't going to build that connection and those relationships. And for the blog, we definitely shift gears. You're now writing this and you're formatting it for Google and the search engines. You're not formatting it for the people on your email list, the people that are your existing audience. So this is where you will change the title. And I guarantee you there's very few newsletter subject lines that are going to be the exact blog post title when it gets onto the website. You have to typically change that title, tweak it a little bit, add some keywords into it, and use it in a different way. For the content itself, you're probably going to be adding some different formatting in the way of headings and subheadings using your H1, H2, H3 tags on your website. And then you're always looking to have links to other pieces of content on your website too. Those are called internal links. And it's critical that you do that because it's going to help people stay on your website longer, which the search engines notice. So then they begin to take more notice of you. It's one of the reasons why I always tell you, don't forget, I have some more information in episode 50 or episode 112 or whatever it might be, because I'm going to put an internal link to those when this episode, this content that I'm doing right now, my anchor content is my podcast. When I put those show notes on the website, I add those internal links too. So it's going to be a big part of how you reformat for the blog, but it doesn't take a lot. You change the title for the website. You might add a little bit of an intro in there that's not as personal because you're trying to do more keyword rich stuff at the beginning in those first subheadings and make sure that Google can find you. So you just have to do some of that type of formatting. It doesn't take a long time to do. And for your social media, what you typically do is pull out and copy and paste words from your content, from that anchor piece of content, and you turn it into social media content. And I do talk a lot more about doing this on that episode number 50. But essentially, some of the main things I teach people to pull out for social media content is pulling out what I call a brilliance tip. So that's pulling out a one-liner or a quote or a tip or a piece of advice that you have in that content you created. Those are great pieces of content to use on social media to share a bit of advice, a little business tip of some sort. Then you can typically put something else that's a longer tip or information. And that may be where you copy a paragraph or two from that main anchor content and put it out as a caption for social media. Maybe you put some of it into a carousel post for Instagram that walks people through a concept or a story. So you've taken the same content, but you've just formatted it a little different. And then you also should ideally be creating a sales post that promotes that article on your blog and links to where people can read the entire thing. This is what I call a blog promotional post. So you have a bit of a blurb, maybe, hey, if you're wondering how the Thrive marketing method works and how those 5 easy steps can make it so simple for you to be able to save time with your marketing and attract more clients, get more traffic from Google, more people signing up for your lead magnet, be sure to check out episode 156 of my podcast. Here's a link to get all the information. That's a blog promotional post. In my case, it's a podcast one. But those kinds of pieces of content are all you need to do. So I'm not rewriting everything. I'm taking it from the main content. And I'll tell you right now, I personally only write 3 new social media posts a week from my content from the podcast. And they become over 12 pieces of content that goes out all across my social media platforms. And that's how you stay visible without burning out. By using the Thrive marketing method, I'm only creating 3 new pieces of content, but it becomes all of this other content, and it saves me so much time in the marketing. So I schedule all of that to go out, and then I spend my 15 minutes online, not going out and posting content. I spend it connecting with people, engaging with people, maybe answering a comment they posted back on my content, posting comments to other people, engaging, networking, and connecting. That's the key part of all of this. So with my 3 pieces of content that I create, I'm just reading it now. I've actually just gone back to my show notes document. And so I create that brilliance tip piece of content, and it becomes 4 pieces of content. I create a carousel post with some lessons from the podcast. That's another 4 pieces of content. And then usually I have some steps or some other pieces of content that I want to share with people. So in this case, it's the 5 easy steps. That's going to turn into a carousel post as well. And I use it as a carousel post on Instagram, but I use it as a single image with 5 steps in it for LinkedIn and Facebook. And that one post becomes 3 pieces of content, 4, 4, and 3. So I was off by 1. That's 11 pieces of content. But then I will take and share some of those off Instagram and share them as a story. So now they become another piece of content. I haven't rewritten anything new. It's all me repurposing it because it was formatted differently for each platform. And that's all it takes. So when you're following a method like this and a system like this, that's how you spend less time on your marketing. And it's a key part to saving time and not burning out because you are trying to create all this new content for all those different places you want to do your marketing. And that takes us to step 5, which is another way to make this even easier. Reuse your content and rotate what you do with templates. So, one of the things that I do more so with my social media content than my emails or my newsletters is I have templates for all of them. So, those different posts that we talked about, I have a template type of image for each one. And so, what I typically do is I create a set amount of images each time we do this every week. So, my content schedule is weekly. And we create, so I create the image that goes with the Brilliance tip. I create the carousel steps image that goes with the lessons from the podcast. And I create the steps image that goes with the lesson of the 5 steps or 3 steps or whatever it might be. And I also create one image that I use for those steps on Instagram or Facebook, or sorry, LinkedIn or Facebook. Instagram gets the carousel posts, but I typically put the other kind on LinkedIn or Facebook. I've been kind of messing around and trying a little bit with LinkedIn. There's been a lot of talk about carousel posts doing well on LinkedIn, so I've been experimenting a little with that as well. But ultimately, I've created 3 types of images. The carousel ones, of course, have a few different images, but they are all in templates, okay? And that's why I say use templates and reuse and repurpose things. So we create 4 images essentially to go with that. I also create a feature image that goes on my blog post on the website on the show notes page. And then I create an image for the cover of the podcast as well. I typically will resize that to post as a story on Instagram, but we're putting it all in templates. There's no thought about creating a new image. We just fill in the content into the same kind of image. I've got several different templates with the steps posts. For instance, I have about 10 different templates for carousel step posts. And so I rotate through them. In 2 or 3 months, you might see the base of it looking the same, but the words on it are going to be different. You don't need to come up with all new stuff all the time. You just need to have a system and the templates and plans that you can repeat and reuse and rotate through things so that what you're creating out there is new, but because it isn't all new from the beginning, then it just makes it a lot easier for you to take less time doing it. It's why I say you can create a social media image in 5 minutes max, because we're not doing a lot of creation in the way of building the base of the image. We're just copying and pasting the new content to go on the image. So I hope that makes sense about how you can really save time on step number 5 by using those templates and reusing and rotating through templates to keep things simple and easy. And that's how we do it in the academy when I'm teaching people about it. It's all about having the systems, having the templates, and having a plan that you can repeat over and over. And that's what's going to help keep you as consistent as possible. And to give you an idea, I mentioned earlier about how Brittany had been in my Thrive Marketing Academy. She's actually now in my coaching circle. But when she went on maternity leave, she was using some of these principles of the Thrive Marketing method to stay visible without being online all the time. So she planned and scheduled a few key emails out there before she paused her client work and let people know when she would be back, what her schedule would be, and how to book with her when she did return to the office. And by the time she returned, she already had clients booking in and new consults booking as well. And that's what can happen when you stay consistent and use a system like the Thrive Marketing method to ensure you can do it as easy as possible, to be consistent as possible. And that's when you're staying visible out there and people know that you are there and ready to help them. So, as a quick recap, I'm going to give you the 5 steps in that Thrive marketing method again. Number 1 is determine what your anchor content is going to be. Are you creating an article for a newsletter, a blog, for podcast, video, whatever it is, and set your schedule. Then you want to create your content bucket of topics. Use 6, use 3, either way, doesn't matter what you do, but then create those subtopics as well. Make sure you're taking that main anchor content and repurposing it into a newsletter, a blog, and social media posts. And if you have a website, I would really like to make a plug again. Do the blog. The blog is for search engines. The newsletter is for more of a potential client than the blog. The idea is nurture the people on your email list, but get strangers from the blog. And then you put the content on social media. Make sure you format the content differently for each platform and for the type of audience that you have on those platforms. And then the last one is use templates to simplify things and stay as consistent as possible and save time. It's a simple but very powerful method and a system for doing marketing so that you are staying consistent, staying visible, and not getting overwhelmed. And it truly is how a lot of my clients go from always behind on their marketing to finally being able to get new clients, new leads, new consults without being on social media 24/7 and being glued to their screens and creating so much extra content that it's not helping bring those new leads in, bring that traffic to you, bring those people to your website where they can book a consult with you. So, what are you going to do now with all of this information? Well, I have a few action steps for you. Here's what I want you to do next. Pick your anchor content idea. And even if you just do this once, just pick one thing that you can do or write or talk about next week. Create that content piece and then make a version of it for your newsletter and send it out. And I would love for you to also try tweaking it to turn it into a blog post and publish it on your website. And I'm going to keep it simple for your action steps here. Just pull one little tip out of it and turn it into a short post for social media, one of your brilliance tips. And if you still struggle to follow through and try and make this system work, let's talk. Because if you have been stuck in a cycle of inconsistent marketing or constantly starting over or oversharing and posting too much, it's probably because you're trying to follow advice and ideas that don't actually fit your business. That's what I find a lot of people run into. This expert says this, that expert says something else. Everybody says something different. I'm going to say something different than other people as well. But the Thrive marketing method is built to help you focus in on what you need so that you've got a system that will help you change all of that inconsistency. And the Thrive Marketing Academy is where I teach that entire method. It's where I help private practice owners just like you, service providers. I help stop the guessing about what they need to do with their marketing and finally create a marketing plan that works. And if you want to find out if the Thrive Marketing Academy might be something that will help you, book a free Thrive discovery call with me. We'll talk through where you are with your business, what you're doing with your marketing, what's keeping you stuck, and whether or not the training and the coaching that's in the academy can help you move forward with a lot less stress and more clarity on how you can be marketing your practice. So you can go to pepperitmarketing.com/review to book a call with me, and I will put that link in the show notes as well. And that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate the time you take to listen to my advice. And if it does help, all I ask in return is this. Could you take one quick moment and post a review of my podcast on Apple or Spotify? Or I have a way for you to send me a quick voice message about it as well. It's very simple to do. There's a link you go to, speakpipe.com/KathyC, and then you can just hit record on your computer, your phone, and it will send that message right to me. Those reviews help podcasters like me in the same way you can help a fellow business owner by sharing a post on social media. That simple action helps us reach more people with our work. So if you're able to do that for me, I really and truly thank you for that. And I like to also do some shout outs to people on the podcast and in my newsletter that do the reviews as well. So it's kind of a little free marketing for you too. That's it for today. I hope these 5 easy steps that are part of the Thrive Marketing Method help you see that marketing does not have to mean doing more, and understand how cutting back on content and doing less marketing can in fact help you reach more clients. This is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off, and remember, to thrive in practice means having a system that's easy to follow for your marketing so that you can do it in a way that builds consistent visibility while still honoring your message, your mission, and your time. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.